Hi, my name is Phil. I like to talk about politics. In this video, I'm going to discuss how the Conservatives are already using Brexit to lay the groundwork for your bosses to force you to work longer hours, whether you'd want to or not. And they're even saying that such a policy is essentially our fault. But first, if you'd like to be notified of daily news and politics, then please subscribe to the channel and click the bell notification icon. So here's the situation. The Conservatives' shiny new immigration policy, which of course is essentially what Brexit's all about, so they say. Well, so do a lot of people say. It means that a lot of people who currently work in various jobs in the UK to power our economy will no longer be able to do so. But, well, we need those jobs filled in order to power that economy. So what to do? What to do? Because it's not as simple as saying that, well, there's loads of unemployed British citizens who could simply do those jobs. There are some people who say that. But the thing is, the reason why you can't actually just say that depends on who you ask. If you ask me, I'll say it's because they either lack the skills to do it, because we've neglected training in this country, the motivation to do it, or are not located in the right areas to do it. If you ask the Conservatives, however, it's a different reason. They'll say it's because there aren't any unemployed in the country. There's hardly any. The rate of employment is sky high, remember? But it doesn't matter what reason you believe. The conclusion is the same. Those jobs are not going to get done. Well, that's no good. And both sides agree on that. In an interview, Conservative Scott Mann MP was saying that Priti Patel's policy was going to cause a huge challenge. He's perfectly open and honest about the fact that there's a load of jobs that are going to be left vacant and no obvious way to fill them. They seem to be quite happy to admit that publicly. He even alluded to the fact that many people in the country did not have the necessary skills to fill those soon-to-be vacant roles. So what was Mr. Mann's proposal? Well, he just seemed to want to waffle on about it being a huge challenge. In fact, the biggest challenge, I think, is what he said, even though it's based entirely, a situation created entirely from his own government's policy. But what he said is, well, what we need to do is to look at the EU's Working Time Directive. Oh, of course he did. And there we have it. Whilst acknowledging that the directive doesn't prohibit people from working overtime, you know, he's not even trying to say that the Working Time Directive stops people being able to work overtime voluntarily. It doesn't. He admits it doesn't. It only prevents them being forced to. He said that the government should be allowed to encourage more people to work overtime, which is a somewhat sinister use of the word encouragement there. After all, when the government wishes to encourage the population to do a particular thing or to avoid doing a particular thing, in the more honest meaning of the word encourage, it runs an information campaign. They're actually pretty effective. The civil service is very, very good at running information campaigns to get people to nudge people towards a particular behaviour. But removing legislation that means, well, that it protects you from only having to work normal full-time hours if you want, has nothing to do with filling jobs left vacant by his own government if we don't have the skills to do them. Remember, this MP said, well, a lot of those jobs, we simply do not have the skills in this country. So making people work 80 hours instead of 40 isn't going to solve that problem, is it? But it is perfectly in keeping with their attitude to productivity. And I've said it before and I'll say it again. Some of these people have no concept of quality of time worked, only quantity. They think that someone doing 80 hours a week is as good as two people doing 40. I mean, I suppose it's a natural enough misconception for people whose job just involves walking through a door now and then in the Palace of Westminster. And even then, someone tells you which door to walk through. Not too taxing. But this is a classic example of what this government will do time and again. They will either introduce legislation or, as in this case, repeal existing legislation, saying that it will solve a problem that not only they created, but won't actually solve the problem that even they created. But as long as the cognitive dissonance in our society continues, they'll continue to get away with it. I mean, a lot of people will just look at it and go, well, this is quite right, these measures are quite right. After all, it's only going to affect the lazy workers. It's not going to affect me. How possibly could it? But for many Conservatives, this was their aim from the start with Brexit. It's wrong to imagine that Brexit was only ever about one thing. It often is for individuals. Certain individuals get one benefit from Brexit and that's what means they support it. But it is different things to different people. And to many in the Conservative Party, they always resented the workers' rights that the EU pushed. Indeed, it's social reforms like this that caused the Conservatives to fall out of love with the European project that they made us a part of. Remember the Daily Mail being so proud of leaving the charge to lead us out of the EU? It was a terrible organisation, and they were the ones who were championing the cause to leave. Of course you do. It's very, very recent. But do you also remember that same Daily Mail being so proud to have led the charge to have us join in the first place? Maybe not so much. I mean, apart from anything else, it was before many of us were born, and a very long time ago for even those of you who were not. And, or, had been born at the time, I should say. As soon as it was just not... It used to be a way of just becoming prosperous. That's what the European community was for them. As soon as it became a way to also empower citizens so that the rest of the country could share in some of that prosperity, it became the enemy. That's what it is for many Conservatives. They're not all fabulously rich and wanting deregulated financial sector and tax avoidance schemes to become even richer. Some of them are just bad at business and want slave labour to be able to compensate for their inadequacies. They'll be reducing the number of hours compulsory paid days leave next. You wait and see. So anyway, I hope you found the video interesting. If you did, don't forget to click the like button. And if you'd like to support the channel further, then please also click the Patreon link for details. And until next time, I'll see you later.